My mother-in-law, she's telling me I don't act like a lady, and I'm telling her she's misogynistic. I don't have to quit my job. I don't have to go be a housewife. What she doesn't know is that I'm actually the breadwinner. I make all the money in the family, and this whole time, my husband has been telling her that he makes all the money, so I guess you could say we're in a predicament. I'm 27 and female, and I've been with my husband for 7 years now, and I love him dearly. I mean, he's not a perfect person, but he's good. At least that's what I thought this whole time. We dated each other for 5 years and have been married for 2, and I'll call him Lenny. 'Cause he loves reading on the internet and lingers here often in his free time. Well, I don't want to get disclosed. He doesn't know that I have an account, so hopefully he won't assume anything. A little bit of the background because it's important. I come from a family with a naive mother and an abusive father. My mother was pregnant with me when she was still a teenager. Both sides of our grandparents made it clear that they have to marry or they'll force them to get rid of the baby. And, none of my parents wanted to do that, so they got married. My mom could not work because she was inexperienced, and after my birth, she had numerous physical issues. My father was the only one working. Even though we were a low-income family, everything was good. My dad even got a good-paying job in his early 20s, but since then, things have turned upside down. He cheated on Mom with one of his coworkers, and when he got caught, he did not even bat his lashes to protest or anything. He said my mother is good for nothing, and he even sometimes used to bring the mistress in our home and force Mom to serve her. My grandfather had offered her to stay with him and leave her husband, but he was struggling financially and was old, so she could not consider that option. My father never physically abused her, but emotional abuse was at its peak. Her surroundings were so toxic that she was getting weaker day by day, but she tried her best to not let that negativity touch me. I was her only hope, and she was living for me. She always used to tell me that she wanted me not to be dependent on anyone. I always wanted to be a lawyer, and she supported me and encouraged me my whole life. I was an obedient kid. I used to work hard to fulfill those dreams. When I became a lawyer, the first thing I did was to get a place for me and my mom. I advised my mother to get a divorce from my dad, but he was not on board with it. So we left and sent divorce papers to him. After 1 year of contact, they were officially separated. I met Lenny during that time, and he was nothing like my father. He used to visit us every weekend and spend time with us, and we became so close that whatever I was busy with, my work, he would take my mother to a doctor's appointment or whatnot, and he's a telemarketer, and I know there's a difference in pay scale. But we're okay with it, 'cause my own income would be enough to carry the expenses. So I encouraged him to pursue his dreams in the meantime and told him not to worry about anything. He still had no idea where his passion lays, but I knew that he would find one. Some people just need time. His mother lives in the upstate, and after his father got ill and stopped working, he used to send them money. It's actually my money, but he told me how his mother's friends thinks that he's doing a high-paying job, as he lied to them, or else his mother would think that he's useless and unable to provide as a son. Well, not gonna lie. That sounds weird to me, but I didn't bother thinking more about it. Because we never know what kind of parents are out there, and I've had one, and he was heinous. So, after a few months, my mother passed away of a brain hemorrhage. I was devastated, because I wanted to give her the best things for years. I did for a few years, but I wanted more with her on our positive side of life. I became fragile then and got more clingy towards Lenny and his family. When I became frequent with them, I saw the weird side of Lenny, and also my mother-in-law was what was causing it. The weekend visits we used to have at my home, and with my mother transferred to his mother's house. She even used to invite us during weekdays as well, and at first I adored those invitations. She seemed like a genuine person with strong opinions, but I thought she cared about me. By the way, she thought that I was the one who was working as a telemarketer, and her son as a lawyer. However, between those visits, I realized that Lenny is a mama's boy. He always says things that his mom will like, and it should not be a toxic trait, right? Well, later I found out that I was wrong. After my mom's passing, I moved in with Lenny and got married after a few months. My mother-in-law kept inviting me for dinner every week, and to be honest, I used to appreciate it, but sometimes after a long day of work, I just wanted to stay in my house and just Netflix and chill. My mother-in-law's house was a 30-minute drive, so it was exhausting sometimes. But Lenny won't take no for an answer. If his mom, who is inviting, even if it's every day. So now the issue is, whenever I go there, the moment I enter their houses, my mother-in-law or sister-in-law would tell me to go to the kitchen and help out for dinner. I couldn't say no. I did once. I said that I was too tired, and she commented I should focus on family-related matters more than all my low-paying job. Lenny was allowed to sit on the couch in her living room with my brother-in-law. She expects it out of me as well, but doesn't explicitly say it. She once earlier mentioned that she expects her daughter-in-law to help her with the workload. I guess her culture is very sexist. She grew up with a mother who just used to take care of all house chores and taught her to do that as well. She wants me to carry the tradition, and, well, my family had an abusive father. Should I carry that tradition too? She has backward thinking, and it's annoying. I hate when I prioritize some bullcrap tradition instead of checking what's bad and what's good. What I feel is that you invited me. You have a house help who does dishes and cleaning, and I came only because you invited me, and I came after a long day of work. Why do you expect me to check in because it's in your culture? She keeps razzing me at dinner table and subtly telling me to cook something for them someday, and I just grin and smile and don't answer. I complained about it to Lenny when it became frequent, and Lenny sided with his mom and said she just said to check on the kitchen, and as they have a house help, I don't even have to work. I just have to stand there. He also advised me to just check in the kitchen just after going there before even his mother asked about it. Then I could show that I was responsible and could not sneak out after a few minutes. He said all I have to do is convince her that I'm a good wife. My sister-in-law has 3 kids. Well, 2 of them are into games and football matches, and the middle one is more into arts and stuff like this. We have a good bond. Whenever I go there, they're also invited, and he always loiters around the kitchen and watches the process of cooking. He also said he wants to be a chef or a painter. I adore the fact that the kid has passion. There are a few times during the weekend when I'm not tired. I try to show him some recipes from my childhood. We have quality time, but mother-in-law would come to the kitchen and say that he should not be doing girly things, or he's not going to get any girls in the future. The incident happened a few times, but he still sneaks into the kitchen if he can. It was, when I was in the kitchen preparing for lunch on a Sunday at my in-laws' house. The other 2 kids were outside playing football. They called him to play with them, but he was not interested, and as my mother-in-law does not like him to be in the kitchen, I told him he should go play with his brothers now while I do the meal prep and he can come back during the cooking process. Well, he agreed. But he came to the kitchen after just 10 minutes of playing and started helping me. My mother-in-law was watching the boys play, and she called him several times, but he didn't even budge. I can see that it annoyed her. After lunch, my mother-in-law was mad and told me that what I'm doing to him is going to harm him in the future. I told her how pushing him to do something he doesn't like would not help him. She wasn't listening and kept saying things like he needs to be a man and stop doing girly things. And the way I'm encouraging him to cook and bake things like grandma, he would get bullied in school, and she doesn't want a grandson who's a sissy. I was shocked. Cooking is a gender-neutral thing and a necessary life skill. Why would he be a sissy? My mother-in-law gets angry and tells me I'm destroying her grandbaby's future. She doesn't want him to grow up weak and make him do girly things. She thinks that it'll make him harmful to him. He needs to learn how to be a man's man, like his dad, and learn how to provide rather than take on feminine roles. She said I should not interfere in her grandson's businesses, and all the time it was me and my mother-in-law who were arguing, and my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and my husband were sitting in silence the whole time. After that day, our invitations lessened. I felt sorry for the kid, but I couldn't do a darn thing about it. I told my husband to do something.
He said his mom is true. Kids like him do get bullied a lot, and he should be grown like a normal man, and if he has other things in his mind, he should do that once he's absolutely mature enough. Well, I don't find the logic in that. I mean, he just wants to cook. That's all, not like he wants to do a crime. However, it was crystal clear that mother-in-law was a misogynist. It was a good thing that I was getting fewer invitations. I thought I would have to go through with this misogynistic opinions less. But she was persistent. Every day she used to call me and ask about the whereabouts in detail. She would inquire if I did the house chores properly and all. If I even mistakenly said that my husband had helped me clean the dishes or prepare the table, she would give me a handful of comments like how I'm ruining his manliness. So I just used to say yes to her. I thought she was just a person in the modern world whose mind is stuck in the Victorian era. Thankfully, I'm not living with her, or else it would have been annoying. But recently, her phone calls are getting more and more harsh. She's giving me orders and asking me to send a photo as proof. She's even asking about when we'll give her a grandbaby. My husband and I have discussed it many times, but came to the conclusion that as he's still figuring out his career, we will wait. Yep, we're just gonna wait for some time. As I'm the main provider in the family, if pregnancy affects me badly, we won't be able to provide as my mom had issues after her pregnancy. I can face the same issues, you know. But my mother-in-law thinks her son is the provider, not me. I can't tell her the truth. I'm confused, and that's what brings me here. I want your suggestions on how to deal with this nightmare of a situation. Is there any way that I can convince her to stop bothering me with the matter without making a big scene out of it? Update number 1. Hey guys, it's been a few months and I'm back here with an update. Some of you said to be patient with my mother-in-law and husband, and I did, and still, I'm seeing no improvement. So I decided to clear my ground. My mother-in-law's orders and opinions are getting too much for me, and my husband is not doing anything. I thought no matter what, he would never yell at me, so I thought I would make her understand that she can't be misogynistic towards me. But I got a big blow from my husband because of it. A few days after my last post, I witnessed it. It was Christmas, and we were invited to her home. We have a tradition of giving gifts on Christmas, New Year's Eve, and at some other times, 4 to 5 times a year. Other than Christmas, she has never given me a single gift in my life. Okay, I'm aware she doesn't owe me anything, but still seems rude. And at Christmas, she gives me seemingly random gifts that are mainly based on household items like Tupperware. Oh. On the other hand, in her case, she made a list of the things she wanted and gave it to her son, which was mostly designer items or fine china. She gives my husband gifts that seem planned to take him away from me. For example, game tickets with his brother-in-law, expensive golf clubs and a new snowboard, and even a dirt bike. She always says these gifts are to make sure that he's taking care of himself and not just focusing on me and encouraging him to do manly stuff. I know it'll sound petty, but all those gifts are basically from my money. But I was okay with it because he loves the gifts and he's expressed that he doesn't have much free time, but he appreciates the gift. Mother-in-law says that is the point. He needs to make time for himself, which of course translates to he should not be spending too much time with me. This obviously makes me mad, though he swears it has nothing to do with sexism. It's a tradition to give household items to the wife that indicates that the wife is in charge of the home. Bull crap! Needless to say, I'm fed up with these gifts and the misogynistic motive behind them. I thought I should give her the taste of her own medicine. My mother-in-law just had a birthday, and I always let my husband handle her birthday. But I decided to get her something this time. I got her a kitchen spoon set so she can cook for her husband, as apparently that's what she considers being a woman is about. She was staring at it, and anger was evident in her eyes. I acted like a proud daughter-in-law and said I chose this gift this time. I explained that it was so she could take care of her man, and she just rolled her eyes. I was happy with what I did. Technically, I just allowed and followed what she said. When we got to the car, my husband blew up at me for embarrassing him and his mom. This was the first time I was actually getting yelled at by Lenny. I was crying and stopped talking to him for a few days even. But later, we had to communicate after we got the news that my father-in-law passed away. We were prepared for it. He was suffering from cancer for a few years, and it was getting worse day by day. Now, come to the recent time that I'm actually here for. My mother-in-law has said that she's sick too and wants to live with us permanently. She was vulnerable now, and there's absolutely no way I can turn her away. She'll come to our house next week, and I'm scared about so many things. First of all, she thinks Lenny is the breadwinner of the family. And second of all, I know she'll be back to her old self and force me to do all their work and whatnot. Is there any other way out of this? If she is really sick, she needs our help. I don't know what I'm getting into. Is there anything else I can do about the entire thing? Update number 2. So, a few more months have passed, guys, and well, since my last update, and I'm here again. I knew life would not be normal and happy after my mother-in-law started to live with us, but I never thought my life would turn into hell. I thought my mother-in-law won't be this bothersome because of her sickness, but I was wrong. Her sickness is in her leg. Her legs are painful, so she's unable to work. So basically, she's just sitting and ordering me around to complete all my house chores. My job is also hectic, and she would just fake some emergency and would make me leave my office before the work hours ended. I told her many times not to call me in the middle of my work, but she snapped at me saying that this is why she doesn't like women working instead of doing house chores. My husband, on the other hand, has become spineless. Whenever he gets questioned about an argument, he'll just straight up take his mom's side. He also knows that this job is not just important for me, but for all of us, because he's still working as a telecaller. Once a month, we used to have a monthly lunch date with my best friend. We've been keeping the tradition for years now, but after my mother-in-law came, he opposed the idea of going out with my friend, as, according to her, my friend is too independent. My mother-in-law complained about it and even told my husband to not give me too much freedom. I wasn't having it. No way was I going to stop seeing my best friend for a person who's stuck in the Victorian era. You see, when she failed to stop me, she faked having too much pain in her legs and tried to make me feel guilty leaving her in this situation. I had no choice but to cancel my plans. Now, recently, she's found a YouTube channel and shares numerous videos from it. He's the typical YouTuber only lecturing about women, how many of them are absurd and how they don't appreciate men, low-quality, high-quality women type stuff. Well, unfortunately, I'd say, my mother-in-law started taking his word very seriously and is using it as an example to straight up complain to me. It just bugs me very much because my husband gives silent treatments towards her remarks, and we just cannot stop fighting at all. Ugh. Anyways, these past few days, she's been sending me so many videos of this person telling me I must watch them so I modify myself. Those videos are basically about how women should give birth before 25, and she argued at the dinner table about how I had already exceeded the age, that I should stop sneaking around meeting my friends and focus on building a family. She even commented saying I'm more serious about my job than building a family and giving her an heir. I said I could do both, but she wasn't having it. I said there are other reasons why we're still not trying to have a new member in the house, but she said I'm just making excuses, and she even said that she doubts I'm serious about her son or not, and that to prove it to her, I'd have to leave my job. Now, guys, I'm in a heck of a pickled situation. I love my job, and it was my late mother's dream, and I don't care about being the breadwinner of the family at all. You know, honestly, I want to see what happens because even though I'm the breadwinner of the family and my husband knows that very well, he's a scaredy cat. Didn't even say a word when his mother told me to leave my job and stay at home, and he knows very well what the consequences will be. But still, he's silent, and I, on the other hand, got an offer from an old friend for a better position on a different firm. But I've been delaying her because it was, well, in a different city. She says her offer will always be open. Now I'm considering leaving my job and seeing what happens with my misogynistic mother-in-law and useless husband. This might be the best way to teach a lesson to them. Should I do it? It won't be that bad, will it? Update number 3. So, it's been 6 months since my last update, and it's a relief to know that you guys are still here for me. Since me and a lot of you guys wanted to see what happens if I leave the job, I did leave, as my mother-in-law wanted me to. She looked happy and acted like she had the whole authority after I listened to her opinion. It was like an experiment to me. I wanted to see if Lenny would ever stand up and talk, and I also thought that this might give him a push to do something, because he was lazy after I got the job and took care of everything. After leaving my job, I had so much time for myself. I even asked Lenny if we should have a child as his mother wanted. But this time he was so frustrated that he could not stay silent and just tells his mother that we were trying. Things got even better when after I left my job he got fired from his. His mom, on the other hand, gets furious because she wasn't getting money for her fancy parties. He was, been trying to find a job, but there's no hope. His experience is so limited that it isn't just enough. He was hiding the news that he got fired from his mother, but when her demands were getting out of control, he disclosed everything. She just scolded him for being a failure, and those attacks even got worse when he did not land a job even after 6 months. I was just sitting back and enjoying the show. I was doing the work a woman should do. Now she's getting more frustrated after realizing that it's me who was providing everything. She can't even say anything to me because whatever was happening was because of her. By the way, I recently found out that her sickness wasn't even real. She used to ask for money for treatment and doctor checkups, but whenever we tried to offer help to take her, she would decline. She always used to call her friend, and that friend would call her doctor. As I had more time on my hands now, I followed them for 2 days and found out that they went to a casino and used the money there. Now, I can understand why she's getting so frustrated. However, recently she has been pretty sick. She fainted one day and we took her to the doctor and found out that she's having issues with her metabolism. Now, I've seen a whole new version of my husband and mother-in-law. After a few days, they came and demanded that I get my job back. They tried to guilt-trip me, saying how I can be heartless and I don't care for mother-in-law. I don't know what I should do in this situation. Please drop a suggestion. Final update. Thank you guys for the support. So, a couple more months have passed since my last update, and I'm going to ignore the comments that were saying I should help my mother-in-law out. Because I didn't. I mean, why should I? They really thought of me as somebody that they could use and mold whenever and however they pleased. And on the other hand, my husband showed what kind of person he really is. After years of being together, he just took his mom's side and used me for his own good. My marriage was getting toxic and I was feeling emotional abuse from them. I'd experienced this with my own parents and did not want to go through the same route. When they were forcing me to get a job every day, I did agree with them, but made it crystal clear that I would do it after I got divorced. I did as I said. I left the house and got divorced, and it was hard for me to go through the divorce, because they were not letting me do that easily. Well, with lots of hassle, I could get it. I was living with my friend for the time being, and they knew her location, so even after the divorce, they tried to get into the house and ask for money. In the end, I had to get a restraining order from the court. I have no idea what they're doing now, and I don't care. I've called my ex-sister-in-law once, just to tell her what kind of hypocrite her mother is and advised her to let her son live the way that he wants. She was always just pressed for her opinions. She had suffered more than me because I was only there for a few days, but she was living with them her whole life. I contacted the friend who offered me a job in another city, just to see if they still had the position, and luckily they did. I'll be moving there in a week, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a fresh start for me. Now, if I get into any relationships, oh boy, I'll make sure to check what kind of personality they have with their friends and family, because apparently living together for years didn't really help.